Hello, my name is Ethan Davis, and I would like to discuss differentiated instruction. Now, varying on what teacher you ask, there's a multitude of definitions that can be applied to differentiated instruction. This form of instruction is going to take student assessments into consideration, and that's going to determine each student's individual learning style and how best to approach that to fully benefit the student. Um, I think the best way to approach this would be at the very least quarterly assessments, if not assessments every week or two, because students adapt and grow and change just as much as non-students, and it's good to keep the lessons up with the students as they're growing. Now, another approach would be group lessons. Now, this could split students into, split the whole classroom full of students into groups varying on their learning styles, and putting them with their peers that they're best going to work with and grow with. It could also be allowing individual work time for students with the use of technology that would allow the teacher to work with students who may need some additional instructing on one lesson or another. Um, of course, classroom management is a very key role with differentiated instruction. And by better managing your classroom, as well as the lessons that are going to be taught in the classroom, it's going to create a more positive environment for your students. They'll feel happier and safer with what they're learning. Another way to approach differentiated instruction is by implementing different learning modules that students can either rotate through or have free reign of choice with, that will help determine different student strengths as well as disadvantages that the teacher can help enhance or improve upon with the students. Now, how exactly can teachers accomplish differentiated instruction in their classrooms? Of course, the first steps teachers are going to want to make is taking proper assessments with the students to determine exactly where the student's at as far as math ability, reading ability, writing ability, science, any additional areas the students may need to develop or areas that the students excel at. And this is going to help the teachers determine how to approach each student as well as the class as a whole. Again, classroom management is essential with differentiated instruction, and of course, classroom management branches out to many different areas. Of course, the classroom as a whole, with how everything is organized, where students are going to be placed, where they're going to be doing their learning, is definitely essential. And that ties in with student placement, with different groups, possibly utilizing learning modules in the classroom. Um, I definitely feel like technology is essential, especially with the students that we have today. They're growing up in households where technology is literally all around them, and it's what they know and they're used to, and it's what they enjoy using. And by implementing your lesson plans and differentiated instruction with this technology, students are going to they're going to grasp the concepts a lot easier, and they're going to be more comfortable with what they're learning. So technology and the varying plethora of learning apps out there are highly important in the classroom, whether you're using differentiated instruction or not. But with the amount of apps out there that adapt in real time to individual students' needs and where they're at with their learning, it's definitely very important with differentiated instruction. As far as teachers preparing themselves for differentiated instruction in their classrooms, very obviously there are all sorts of necessary tools that are going to aid the teachers. as far as what they are, that varies on the teacher themselves and how they want to implement this style of learning. Being consistent with student assessments, again, is very important. Students are learning different things every day, and as they grow, they're going to be changing, which means their needs are going to be changing. So these assessments are important, no matter how small or big they may be, and staying consistent with that to stay with the student when they're growing is important. Creating lesson plans that children of all learning levels can benefit from is important. You're going to have students who are going to understand and grasp the concepts that you are sharing with them in your lessons. You have students that are already going to know a lot of the concepts and be ready for more. And then you're going to have students who might need just a little extra push in the right direction when it comes to trying to grasp certain concepts. So having lessons that are very flexible and that can adapt to fit the needs of each of these levels of learning is important. And one can do that by utilizing the technology we have around us. Again, iPads, different tablets, laptops. There are several websites out there and different applications that students can take advantage of in the classroom that they'll benefit from. Of course, another thing teachers need to do to prepare is do your research. Again, there's so many different things out there that can be utilized when it comes to differentiated instruction and the varying learning levels between students that could really make a great classroom environment. And then, of course, you're not alone in this. Being at a school, you're surrounded by fellow educators and administrators. Don't be afraid to reach out and see what other teachers are doing. Put your heads together and see if you can all come together with different ways to benefit the children. Now, differentiated instruction in the classroom is going to be this hive of constant activity. And you should be able to look into a classroom utilizing this type of instruction and see knowledge being retained in every student's mind. There are going to be different workstations and areas that the students are going to be doing different activities at. Students will be engaged and enjoying themselves with what they're doing. You'll see students working on their own, going at their own pace, or you'll have small groups working together, sharing their ideas and their thoughts on relative things. You'll see a classroom that's utilizing technology in its varying forms and the multitude of things that offers. A differentiated instruction in a classroom is not going to look like your typical cliche classroom with a teacher at the front writing on a chalkboard and students' heads, uniform, bobbing up and down, just taking notes. It's interactive. And that's some of the things you see in classrooms now are the typical lecturing, which essentially is a straight line and allows for no deviation. It's difficult to assess your students' individual needs when you're spouting information at them and you expect all of them to retain and understand that information at the same rate. As far as assessments goes, a lot of the common practice has been annual assessments that teachers use to determine how they're going to approach their students the following year. When students are learning and changing on a daily basis, and lessons need to be able to keep up with them on that and adapt and change with them. And then you have teachers who offer bonus points or extra credit for student participation in the lectures and the lessons. And, that's great, but you might have some students who know the material and are just so anxious about speaking in front of everybody that they're not able to do it. And they're missing out on those points when they shouldn't have to worry about that. Again, Differentiated instruction is going to appeal to each student and their individual learning styles, and you shouldn't offer extra points for students who learn differently than others. In order to fix that, teachers need to be more interactive with their class as far as the lessons that they're teaching their students and the information that they're trying to pass on. It needs to be fun. It needs to vary. There needs to be some style and a little pizzazz with what you're doing to keep the students' attentions and to aid each of them regardless of their individual learning level. That shouldn't hinder or benefit one student more than the other. They all should be learning at their own rate in a fun manner. And this allows students to deviate from the norm that is a typical classroom. Lessons needed to be provided that are enjoyable, again, and that are based on student needs. Assessments need to be consistent in the classroom. Again, at the very least, quarterly assessments through the semesters, if not every week or so, just to determine students' growth and what may need to be done in order to improve that or see that they're staying on the correct path with their learning. Improvisation and adjustments. Teachers need to be willing to do those things in order to benefit their class and individual students. And along with that is being aware of each student's individual ability, and again, what can be done to either aid that ability and improve it or enhance a student's current ability so they can continue with what they're learning. Differentiated instruction it's the way of teaching now, and it's how things should be done in the classroom. And it's definitely something that I will strive for when it comes time for me to have my own class of students.